Welcome all. We're going to be having a look at organizational structure and management today. Trust you've all read your manuals. This is the topics we're going to be discussing. So, what is organizational structure? It's the structure that details how certain activities are delegated towards achieving an organization's goal. It affects organizational action, and it provides the foundation on which standard operating procedures and routines rest. It outlines an employee's role and various responsibility within the company. The more authority employees have, the higher up they will be on this organizational structure. Non-profits and profit organizations. Let's look at the differences. A non-profit organization is normally led by trustees, a board of directors, or committee members that do not have direct financial ownership. Their main concern is not about financial success, but about religious, social, or environmental issues. A for-profit organization, on the other hand, can be a privately held business or a large corporation with boards and stakeholders. Responsibilities are distributed amongst individuals or a group that takes part in the financial success of the business. Since for-profits are primarily focused on increasing revenue, these leaders share responsibilities and often financial incentives. Organizational culture. Let's have a look at the differences and what they are and what they stand for. A non-profit organization is more community-oriented. Their employees are often seen supporting a cause outside their regular schedule, attending events, or collecting donations. They are often found handing out informative and educational resources to the local community or businesses in their spare time. On the other hand, for-profit organizations focus on financial gain. They value employees who contribute to the creation of new products and services, as this helps increase revenue, which ultimately increases profits. Organizational behavior. This is the study of behavior between individuals and groups in the working environment. And here we're going to have a look at 5 elements which are key to studying organizational behavior. First, you need people. Then structure, technology, social system, and the environment. The core concept behind this study and application is the certainty of creating a happy and productive workplace. Productivity. It's commonly defined as a ratio between the output volume and the volume of inputs. In other words, it measures how efficiently production inputs, such as labor, capital, all these elements that are being used in an economy to produce a given level of output. Let's have a look at some quotes of some successful people. The phrase "work smarter, not harder" originated in the 1930s by Alan Morgenstern. As an industrial engineer, he created a work simplification program using less effort to increase productivity. Tim Ferriss, he said, "Focus on being productive instead of busy." Bruce Lee, he said, "If you spend too much time thinking about a thing, you'll never get it done." And then Walt Disney says the way to get started is to quit talking about it and begin doing it. Being productive at work is vital to being successful in today's world of getting more done in less time. To be productive, you need to keep your motivation high, as inspiration is one of the best motivators. Now, business strategy. It's a clear set of plans, actions, and goals that outlines how a business will compete in a particular market with a product or number of products of service. Types and examples. We're going to be looking at the focus strategy. There are two things to consider while doing business strategy and two ways to strategize. Firstly, ask yourself where you want to go. How are you going to get there? Then there's the offensive method. This is generally a corporate strategy that makes acquisitions and invest heavily in research and development and technology in an effort to stay ahead of the competition. Then the defensive. This strategy is a marketing tool that businesses use to defend their business from potential competitors. It protects its market share by beating a competitor on price. Why should we use the focus strategy? Because it can serve businesses in multiple ways. It is the best approach to understand your target customers' needs and allows business to concentrate on supplying that specific group. When a business understands what its potential customers need, it can create a better and more valuable product. This not only generates regular profits for the business, but it also helps businesses to establish a relationship of trust with their customers. Now, customer loyalty is also a perk of satisfying a specific group of customers. When a customer is happy, they will develop a strong affiliation with a particular brand, and chances are they will always return. And this is true because I worked for an international company. The equipment came at a price, but when the cheaper models flooded the market, we started losing customers. And however, they did return because at the end of the day, our equipment outlasted all these cheaper models. So in the long run, they weren't saving. Now, a good example of a company that is strategically focused is Coca-Cola. They made Diet Coke, especially for people having diabetes or similar issues, and it also catered for those who preferred low sugar beverages. Business continuity also needs to be included in strategic planning. Also known as BCP, it's a document that consists of the crucial information an organization needs to continue operating during an unplanned event. And just like most recently, we experienced COVID, flooding, etc. This is the process that documents the essential functions of the business, identifies which systems and processes must be sustained, and details how to maintain them. The goal is to enable ongoing operations before and during execution of disaster recovery. Its intended outcome is for proper execution of both business continuity planning and disaster planning. An organization's resistance to failure is the ability to withstand changes in its environment and still function. often called resilience, it's the capability that enables organizations to either endure environmental changes without having to permanently adapt, or the organization is forced to adopt a new way of working that better suits the new environmental conditions. We're going to look at Fayol's 14 principles of management, and this is where the assignment starts. So you're going to be completing it using your own words. Dividing the work of an organization up and distribute it among different individuals in separate departments is called the division of work. This enables companies to maximize the use of everyone's skill set. Division of work thus leads to specialization, which helps to increase efficiency and results in improved productivity and profitability of the organization. This management principle is applicable to both technical and managerial activities. Authority and responsibility. In order to get things done in an organization, the management must have the authority to give orders to employees. With this authority, though, comes responsibility. However, authority must be equal to responsibility. According to Fayol, there should be a balance between authority, that is power, and responsibility, which are the duties. And the right to give orders should not be considered without reference to responsibility. If the authority is greater than the responsibility, it is possible that managers may misuse it. If the responsibility is greater than the authority he has, then this can sometimes lead to frustration, especially amongst employees. Discipline. This is about obedience, requiring respectful interactions between a company and its employees. Discipline may be self-discipline, or it may be enforced discipline, and entails the need for respect for the rules and regulations of the organization. It makes up part of the core values of an organization, enabling them to run smoothly, especially if there are meetings to attend and deadlines to meet and the pressures on. A deadline is not a guideline. This you need to remember. Unity of command. According to this principle, an employee must receive orders from only one manager, and the employee is answerable to that manager. This lessens the chance of confusion, which may lead to possible conflicts for employees. It also makes it easier to establish the responsibility for errors. Unity of direction. It's all about focus and unity. It means that activities aimed at the same objective should be organized in such a way that there is one plan and one person in charge, in other words, the manager. For example, all marketing activities such as advertising, sales promotion, pricing policies, etc., must be directed by only one manager. All related activities must be carried out by one group that forms a team. And this plan of action is then monitored by the manager. Subordination of individual interests. There are always all kinds of interests in an organization. The organizational goal should never be sabotaged by the interests of an individual or a group. If the interests of an individual or group prevails over the interest of the organization, the organization will just fail. This applies to all levels of organization, including the managers. Remuneration. The remuneration policy of an organization should give maximum satisfaction to both employers and employees, and should also include both financial and non-financial incentives. Motivation and productivity are interlinked and are vital for the smooth running of an organization. This management principle states that the remuneration should be sufficient to keep employees motivated and productive. If an organization wants efficient employees and best performance, then it should have a good remuneration policy that is based on a systematic attempt to reward good performance. The degree of centralization. Centralization means that the authority in an organization is concentrated in only a few hands. It is always present to the greater or lesser extent, depending on the size of the company and the quality of its managers. In decentralization, the authority is distributed to all levels of management. No organization can be completely centralized or decentralized, and authority for decision-making must be properly balanced depending on the volume and size of the organization. Scarlet chain. Henry's hierarchy management principle states that there should be a clear line in the area of authority. The chain of command, also called scarlet chain, is the line of authority from top to bottom of the organization and can be seen as a type of management structure. The instructions flow downward along the chain of command, and accountability then flows upward. Order. According to this principle, there must be an orderly placement of the resources, money, material, etc. Objects equal material order and refers to a place for everything and everything in its place. Whereas order of people equals the social order and refers to the selection of the right man in the right job. The work environment must also be safe, clean and tidy. Equity. The management principle of equity often occurs in the core values of an organization and states that the managers must be kind as well as equally fair to their subordinates. This does create loyalty and commitment from the employees towards the organization. Stability of tenure of personnel. This management principle requires that, although it could take a lot of time, employees need to be given enough time to settle into their jobs to become efficient. Management must also strive to minimize employee turnover in the organization and to have the right staff in the right position to ensure job security. This will improve the sense of well-being and also improve productivity. If you have a huge staff turnover, then you need to just take a look as to why, because there could be serious problems in management either, or the way they are selecting their employees. Initiative. With this management principle, Henry Fayol argued that all levels of staff should be encouraged by management to show initiative. Initiative gives satisfaction to the employees and brings success to the organization. It also encourages the employees to be more involved. According to Fayol, employee initiatives are a source of strength for the organization and adds value for the company. Esprit de corps simply means team spirit. The divide and rule policy must be avoided, and management should endeavor to create unity, cooperation, and team spirit amongst employees. Now we're going to look at the 5 functions of management. Fayol actually says that planning is the most difficult of them all. So we're going to start with planning because that's where the importance lies and the focus should be. Because planning is very similar to what a ship's captain would do. They plan the whole trip before they leave the dock. They have a clear vision of their destination. Looking ahead, they understand what it will take to get there. They know who needs to be on board to make it successful. And they recognize obstacles long before they even appear on the horizon. Because they prepare well, good leaders can take their people just about anywhere. Organizing. It's also important as it helps to gain control of your time so you can plan and complete the tasks needed to achieve your goals. Here are 8 tips on how to get organized. Focus on what's important. Remind yourself of long-term goals and revise them when necessary. Set priorities to meet your goals. Keep notes nearby of your goals to stay inspired. Make lists, daily, weekly, and monthly, to-do lists of the important tasks. Review your daily priorities at the beginning of each day. Manage your time well. Schedule quiet time at work to accomplish tasks that need extra concentration. Do the most challenging work when your energy levels are high, and the more demanding work for another time. If you tend to procrastinate, focus on the sense of accomplishment you'll feel when the job is done. If possible, you can even use commute time to plan your day's activities. Use calendars and planners. Check your work calendar daily to review your activities and avoid conflicts. Write down all commitments in pencil rather than trusting your memory. Use planning, scheduling, and even software to help you map out long-term projects. Delegate tasks. Assign tasks to others when the task is not on your level of expertise. Provide adequate training and feedback on assigned projects. Manage your mail and phone calls. Sort incoming mail into categories by priority or action. Use voicemail to screen calls if necessary. Reduce the clutter in your workplace. Keep only the most critical items and information you need daily on the top of your desk. Archive resource materials you rarely use. Toss out duplicate information and materials that will soon be outdated. Leave space on your bookshelf for growth. Stay organized by priority and keep the most important ones within arm's reach. Spend 15 minutes at a time of each day clearing your desk, and then 15 minutes in the morning planning your daily activities. Commanding. In a command and control system, the leader prefers to be seen as an authority figure with the final say in any workplace decision. These leaders can be beneficial for teams that need to meet precise deadlines or work with specific procedures. Coordinating. This is to stimulate, motivate, and discipline within the group. This requires clear communication and good leadership. Controlling. Now, controlling managers monitor the effectiveness of their planning, organization, and leading activities. They determine what is being accomplished by evaluating the performance and, if necessary, taking corrective measures so that the performance takes place according to plans. The sixth function of FIO acts as an overall function with relation to the 5 functions we've just discussed. Leading a successful team. Being a great leader is something that you have to work on and develop. Recent studies suggest that leadership is 30% genetic and 70% learned. These findings propose that leaders are made, not born. However, both are true. A person can be born with natural leadership abilities, and some can learn how to become a good leader. Older siblings tend to be more natural leaders. They often have the characteristics related to leadership, such as responsibility, creativity, obedience, and dominance. In many families, the older children tend to take care of the younger siblings. They also take on more chores and tend to have more expectations placed on them from their parents. There are many different reasons for this, and these expectations tend to shape the oldest child's personality. Communication. Effective communication is the most important part of teamwork and involves constantly updating each person and never assuming that everyone has the same information. That is why it's important to hold regular planning meetings and reviews meetings as well. Delegation. When to delegate. When leaders delegate certain tasks to others, it frees them to focus on more important duties and use their time more productively. However, the problem is that leaders delegate tasks and then assume that they are no longer responsible for the outcome thereof. So they need to know that they delegate the task, not the responsibility. And as a leader, you are ultimately still responsible for the outcome. Why delegate? It helps with the growth and development of your team. Your impact increases and you have that huge influence. It makes you an attractive leader to work for. It boosts your reputation as a leader. To whom should you delegate? Make sure that the person you're delegating to is capable and competent to complete the tasks because, as I said, the results are on you. Leading through example is often defined as behaving in a way that showcases your own integrity and ethics as a leader, showing others how to behave. Whether you like it or not, you are a role model to those whom you lead, and your actions do speak louder than words. It should match what you say with what you do. For example, people who don't lead by example will implement financial cutbacks at a company, but they'll still buy themselves a luxury car. And if you're asking employees to cut budgets and they see you not making an effort, they won't respect you. And of course, if you make those same sacrifices, they're going to respect you and going to be willing to make them themselves. This also creates a company culture of mutual respect, which helps the whole team work together more effectively. Common and aligned goals. Every organization understands the importance of goal setting, but setting goals is not enough. It's imperative to align employee goals to the team goals, and then the team goals to the overall organizational goals. Everyone should be working to achieve the organization's overall strategy, and aligning goals gets everyone on the same page and moving in the same direction. Aligned goals create an atmosphere where everyone works together and understands their role. Simply put, if your organization isn't aligning goals, it's just going to be catastrophic and you're at a disadvantage. Appointing a successor leader. So to develop an organization, obviously people need to be developed. Succession planning is the process and the strategy for replacement planning or passing on leadership roles. It is used to identify and develop new or potential leaders who can move into leadership roles when they become vacant. It is often said that success without a successor amounts to failure. In every organization, and this is the church included, there should be succession plans. The wise and capable leader knows when and how to step back so that their people can step forward to accomplish the purpose and mission of the organization or church. However, too many leaders are afraid of someone taking their position, and we know in churches that these missions get hijacked and they just become very insecure in their positions. This scarcity-minded thinking can cause a leader to lose sight of what's important. Great leaders create more leaders. Church leaders must bear in mind that they occupy the leadership seat for a time that could be determined by man or terminated by God. So the need to think ahead must be an essential part of the planning process. Here are some guidelines. The church should identify likely succession candidates that will meet the criteria of a leader. They should introduce fundamental Bible-based and minimum training requirements in the various leadership roles in the church. All potential succession candidates must be tried and proven to be reliable and trustworthy. The standard succession plan in the church must be based on the apostolic succession practice that is seen in Scripture. So, make it fun. I'm sure you've all heard of that expression, work hard, play hard. Well, it is important. And organizations shouldn't neglect the importance of being together as a team. Team retreats are good for business and should be practiced by organizations of every size. Team buildings are a fun and interactive way to boost employee morale. Getting out of the monotony of work and engaging with one another for non-work related events and tasks can do wonders for the team. Taking part in fun games and activities that require team collaboration can increase efficiency in the workplace. Engaging in fun activities allows team members to develop relationships with their peers and upper management as they get to know each other better. These occasions can also bring other departments and branches together, gives employees a chance to interact with people they won't typically interact with in the office. Here are some pitfalls. first of all, taking credit for things you didn't do. This is an expression of pride. It's very destructive to building a team. It leads to loss of integrity and credibility. And we know that even Jesus didn't take credit for what he did. He always glorified the Father. Lack of enthusiasm. I can tell you now, if you're not fired up about what you're doing, don't expect your team to be either. Head in the sand mentality, not dealing with reality and the inability to embrace the inevitable will cause failure. A bad attitude. Since attitude is contagious, if you're always in a bad mood and dripping with negativity, you can't expect your team to act the same way. Your attitude sets the tone. Leading without love. And a loving heart goes a long way. Leadership through fear and force will not work. Management styles. A management style is the particular way managers go about accomplishing their objectives. Over the decades, we've seen an evolution of different management and leadership styles, all adapting to and being driven by the needs of society and business, some being rationalized by the results they've achieved. A shared vision of purpose and outcome, which is owned by all, is ultimately the key to achieving a common goal. Now, we're going to look at some differences between a leader and a manager. Is it possible to be a manager and a leader at the same time? Of course it is. But keep in mind that just because someone is a great leader doesn't mean they can be a great manager or the other way around. And in bigger corporations, it's fine. You can have these huge departments with various degrees and levels of management. But in a small company, the owner is probably the leader and he has to take on some managing roles. Now, a leader takes charge. They are influential and they set examples. Whereas a manager manages and takes responsibility of a situation. Leaders create a vision, whereas managers execute the vision. Leaders create change, managers react to change. Leaders are people-focused, whereas managers are more structured-focused. Leaders seek feedback, whereas managers minimize weaknesses. Leaders lead the people and managers manage the work. Leadership is about motivating people. Management is more about administering. So the manual covers different styles, but we're going to look at the one that is most suited for the church, and that is the visionary style. The hallmark of a visionary leader is the ability to mobilize people towards a goal. This style has long-term goals that take the church, a department, or a company forward, creating an atmosphere where team members can build their knowledge and abilities, knowing they have a mission that allows progress and development. With this style, leaders have a vision and a mission that people buy into, inspired by the direction it will take them now and in the future. Short-term focus may be sacrificed for the greater good, but the journey is far-reaching and it is more kingdom-focused. Kingdom-focused. This style is being favored more and more as people require confidence, trustworthiness, inspiration, drive, and that humanistic touch from their leaders. Visionary leadership. This creates thought patterns in others that inspire and build employee confidence, which is needed so that they can grow. They see the world differently, and then they help others see the same vision. They turn the vision into reality. In the book of Ephesians, chapter 1, 17 to 18, we see the Apostle Paul prayed that the eyes of their heart may be enlightened, that they may know the hope to which they have been called. A visionary leader sees with the eyes of faith and knows what God has in store for them and passionately pursues it. Applying biblical principles to management. Jesus taught his disciples not to emulate the rulers of the Gentiles who exercised authority over them. Instead, he taught that leaders must become servants first. Matthew 20, verse 26 to 28 tells us, instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be a servant, and whoever wants to be first be your slave, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. We are not to conform to the status quo, especially if it entails ruling by force and unjust deeds to our subordinates. As leaders in service of the kingdom of God and in the workplace, we are to be different to the leaders of this world in the way we lead others. Now, Jesus' leadership emphasized the importance of being discerning with regards to others. Without seeking to control them, it wasn't about force, it was about the freedom to choose. The leadership style that Jesus taught and modeled was neither about command or control, nor status and power. He did not teach techniques. He grew people's characters centered on Christ-like servant heart. He modeled servitude and challenged his disciples to follow that example. From the kingdom perspective, this makes Jesus' leadership style superior to all secular styles. Philippians 2:3 tells us, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but to each of you the interest of the others. Leaders need to be humble, and they're not to be boastful. They need to encourage others and must never belittle their followers. Christian leadership is not like the world. In today's world, where dishonesty is common among people in political positions, a good leader stands out because he upholds a high standard, because he knows the consequences to his character of being unfair and dishonest, and he's rewarded immensely for doing the right thing. Proverbs 16:8 tells us, better a little with righteousness than great gain with injustice. Time management. It's the process of organizing and planning how to divide your time between different activities. Get it right and you'll end up working smarter and not harder, even when time is tight and the pressure's on. The highest achievers manage their time exceptionally well and get things done. Placing a task or project into one of the following categories helps you manage your time more effectively. So there are things you need to do, and those are the urgent things first. Then you need to determine whether you can delay it for a while And then there's a decision to be made whether you can delegate it. And then there are things you can absolutely just delete and don't even have to do. Now, let's look at some common time wasters. Avoid wasting time checking emails. The subject line of the email tells you if it is essential or not. Learn to prioritize and cap the amount of time you spend on emails. Unsubscribe to the unwanted sites. This immediately reduces your inbox clutter. Reduce the amount of time you spend on social media, especially at the office. Managing by crisis. The first step in preventing a crisis is to ask yourself, what could go wrong? And how would I go about handling it? Deciding if a meeting is necessary or not. Workshops would be more beneficial. It's good to arrange breakout groups where people can share their ideas and then have feedback sessions. This helps to sharpen existing skills and everyone around the table gains knowledge. They are so much better than your general meeting. Find a home for everything. When there's a specific place for everything you own, it saves you time and perhaps more importantly, mental energy by not having to search for hours and trying to remember where you put your things. Put things where you can find them in the dark, especially here in South Africa. What can you repeat? Why make things difficult by reinventing the wheel? Rather make things easier by looking for things you can repeat regularly to save time. Declutter. When you have less stuff in your home, there's less for you to clean and care for. This frees up time, energy, and even money. Automate where possible. Technology has made it so easy for us today to pay bills online, to do online shopping. And it's not only is it convenient, but it saves you time and money. And here's a simple test. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? You'll probably come to the conclusion that it is either out of habit or because it's what you think you should be doing. But at the end of the day, it may not even add value. Develop good routines. Learn to say no. Just simplify your life. It can save you time, energy, and money. The assignment. Okay, so I've crammed a lot into this, folks. I hope you found it beneficial. So when doing the assignment, it's from chapters 6 through to 9. And I'm just going to mention that your question number 4, theory X and theory Y are the theories of human work, motivation, and management. So I don't want you to be confused by this. It's, in a nutshell, the theory X proposes that management styles have high degrees of control over employees, whereas theory Y suggests management styles that give the workers more decision-making and control, and it provides less supervision. And that's all, folks.